This is a story about bare feet. Not just bare feet, but the sound of bare feet pounding the stone streets of Paris. It is the sound of a revolution. And this is a story about a storm that changed everything. You storm the palace gates. You are barefoot, hungry, furious. You are not a soldier. You are a mother. And today, you are leading a revolution. October 1789. Thousands of women march from Paris to Versailles. They drag cannons through the mud. They confront the king. They force Louis XVI to return to Paris. They change history. But history won't remember their names, because this revolution speaks of liberty, but not for her, Olympe's pen. Behind every revolution, there's a battle of ideas. The Enlightenment had sparked a fire in France. Philosophers like Jean-Jacques Rousseau challenged the old order. They questioned everything: God, king, tradition. But their ideas did not apply to everyone. It was one rule for men and another for women. While men argued for freedom, women were free to bear children. That's what Olympe de Gouges thought. She was a playwright. She saw the power of ideas and the pen. So in 1791, she wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Woman and of the Female Citizen. It was a response to the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Remember that document? Yeah, we all do. Men talked about natural rights, liberty, fraternity. Olympe simply wanted the same. Her document wasn't radical. It demanded equality in marriage, education, and politics. But it was effective. She used the same language as the men, but applied it to women. It was a brilliant strategy, and it made her enemies. Remember, this is the time when Marie Antoinette was losing her head, quite literally. The revolution was turning violent, and Olympe's ideas threatened the new order. She challenged the hypocrisy of a revolution that preached liberty, but only for men. She exposed the violence against women, and that did not go down well. But fear could not silence her. She continued to write, and that cost her life. In 1793, she was executed. But not before she said, "If women have the right to mount the scaffold, they must also have the right to mount the tribune." And these words echo across 2 centuries. Olympe used her pen to spark a debate that the revolution would not allow. She opened the doors of public life for women. But it wasn't easy. Corday's blade. Some women fought with the pen. Others preferred the sword. When the revolution turned violent, many women took up arms. Charlotte Corday was one of them. She was a young woman when the revolution broke out. At first, she supported it, but she soon became disillusioned. By 1793, the revolution had entered its most brutal phase. The reign of terror. Thousands were being guillotined. Even former revolutionaries were not safe. And running the show was Marat, a radical journalist. He controlled the masses through his newspaper, Friend of the People. Every day, he fanned the flames of terror. And Charlotte Corday decided to act. She walked into Marat's home, into his bathroom, and stabbed him to death. She didn't run away. She stood trial. She was found guilty and sentenced to death. But before that, she wrote a letter. It said, "I killed one man, but I saved 100,000. 4 days later, she was executed. The crowd gathered outside the prison, but there were no cheers for her, no songs, no chants. But Corday did not seek their approval. She knew why she acted. The revolution had devoured many, and she ended its reign. But that did not bring her glory. History remembers Marat, not his assassin. But both these women were outsiders. They fought from the shadows. They changed the course of the revolution. But what about those in the center? The silencing of women. Meet Théroigne de Méricourt. She was the face of the revolution. She was a singer. She performed at the Paris Opera. Then the revolution broke out, and she abandoned the stage for the streets. She joined the march on Versailles. She stormed the palace. She confronted the king. And she became a symbol of the revolution. She was seen as an emblem of its fury. She was also seen as a threat. Théroigne was branded a traitor, beaten by other women, institutionalized, silenced. She disappeared from public life. Her story faded, but her courage did not. This was not a rare story. Hundreds of women suffered at the hands of the revolution they helped start. When the storming of the Bastille happened, women made up half the crowd. They cheered as the fortress fell. They sang songs of liberty, but soon their voices were drowned out. While men debated in the National Assembly, women were pushed out. When they protested, they were ignored. When they marched, they were attacked. And then came the silencing. In 1793, the National Convention passed a law banning all women's political organizations. The same women who marched, wrote, and bled for change were told to go home. They couldn't vote. They couldn't speak. They couldn't lead. Liberty was male. Equality was selective. Fraternity didn't include sisters. But here's the thing about revolutions. They feed on participation. They need people. They cannot exist in silos. And the women of France knew this. They participated in the early years, but soon the revolution turned ugly. The reign of terror, the guillotine, the silencing. Many women backed out, but some stayed on. Legacy of fire. The revolution was a pendulum. It swung between hope and despair. In the early stages, women took center stage. They led the way. They showed the men the path. But gradually, they were sidelined. They were silenced, beaten, ignored. But this did not break them. Here's what it did. It forged an unbreakable spirit. A spirit that refused to be ignored. A spirit that refused to accept defeat. A spirit that lives on in every generation. They marched, they wrote, they bled, and they were erased, but not forgotten. Olympe's words echo in every feminist manifesto. Charlotte's defiance lives in every act of resistance. Therouan's fire burns in every woman who dares to lead. Sure, history remembers the big names, Marat, Robespierre, Danton, but it forgets the women. It forgets the ones who started it all. It forgets the ones who kept it going. It forgets the ones who paid the price. But we will not forget them today. Today we remember the bare feet. We remember the sound of pounding stones. We remember the women who dared to dream of a different world. Today we remember the women of the French Revolution. Because what is revolution without its women? For more such stories, subscribe to our channel.